So, y'all, listen, it is beautiful outside. Like, it is so nice out here. I had to come out in these streets and try to find some toilet paper, and I found it after I went to like 5 stores. But I got toilet paper, y'all. I got toilet paper. I can't believe that toilet paper is still, um, like not being restocked. Is like, did we run out of the whole supply in the whole nation? Like, what's going on with the toilet paper? But anyway, that ain't what I came on here to talk about. I came back for part two of the Don't Prostitute Your Energy. Like, God just really started downloading even more information after that first video. And I'm trying to tell you, like, the enemy was mad. He did not want me saying that. He just started. But anyway, he's irrelevant. So what God started showing me after that video, I think I ended it talking about how like that energy, that feminine energy being misused so much, like we've been taught to misuse it, that it becomes a destructive force. It becomes something that we use to wield as a tool when it's actually meant for the intimacy of marriage. And when we're not using it properly, like it can really destroy. And he started showing me how it has destroyed a lot of the relationships that I have been in. And I'm not speaking of just opposite sex relationships. I'm talking about relationships in general. And and so what he started saying was that the reason that a lot of people can't achieve that level, like aren't able or are not going to that level of intimacy with him, with God, that he requires, that he wants, is because they're still basing how they've learned intimacy from their past relationships. Like their past relationships and how they've learned intimacy, how they've learned to achieve relationships is hindering us from having an intimate relationship with him. Because, and I'll just speak from my own experience. I'm sure other people have the same story or similar stories. Some may not, but just in my own experience, what he started showing me with with my past relationships was that because I was using that energy, and this is not even just for women. This goes for men too. I was talking to one of my brothers, and he was, I was telling him what God had showed. I'm out here sweating. I was telling him what God had showed me about it, and he was like, man, like that relates to us brothers too. And the way that we're taught to have what we're taught intimacy is, and the way that we're taught to achieve it in our relationships is usually based on a physical nature. It's based on asserting that energy to achieve what it is that you want. And God said, we're like, you can't have intimacy with me like that. Like, that's not going to get you the mate, the spouse, the husband, the wife that I have set aside for you. Because it requires you to have that relationship with me first before you can even know how to do it right with another person. And so, in the past, because that's what I would use, then what I would attract would be based on that type of energy. And so what would happen is I would attract people who were not, I would attract men who were not emotionally available for intimacy. They were available for that sexual energy, that energy that I was putting out to attract, and that's what they were attracted to. They weren't attracted to trying to be in an intimate relationship, and putting in the commitment and the work that it requires to have that. And God said, The reason that you do that, the reason that you've had such a hard time having intimacy with me, and so let me backtrack. So I would do that, and I would get in it. At first, it didn't bother me because I wasn't looking for an intimate. I wasn't looking for marriage. I didn't want to be married. I wouldn't, wouldn't for me. And then when God gave me the desire to want to be married, to want a spouse, I was still attracting that same thing. And I'm like, okay, God, so why was that? Like, what was I doing wrong? Like, I was following you, I was listening to you, I'm reading your word, I'm going to church, I'm doing the things that you've told me to do. And he was like, well, you can't do it right until you can do it with me. Okay, Lord. And the thing is, you can't do it right with him because this is something else that my brother said that like just blew my mind one day. Like we'll be having he'll just say some random stuff that later on I'm like, man, that was deep. But what he said was that, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what he said, but what he what he was saying was that you can't have what you need with your husband because you're still desiring your ex. Like you're holding your husband up to the image of your ex. And I was like, man, after that, God had me burning down stuff and like cutting all type of soul ties and just like I was like, okay, Lord. But what he said through all of this was, you can't have intimacy with me because you're holding me up to the image of your ex. You're holding me up to the image of your ex lovers. You're holding me up to a standard that I'm way beyond. Um, because relationships that you had, you wasn't able to achieve the level of intimacy that I created you for. Now you're holding me up to that and believing that you can't achieve that with me as well. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So he pretty much, so because we're comparing him to our fleshly, our natural energy relationships, then we feel like we can't have that level of intimacy. We're not willing to open up and allow him to have that level of intimacy with us. And so what would happen is I would get in these relationships and I'm wanting this level of intimacy. I'm wanting this relationship, but that's not what I attracted. So that's not what I'm getting. So what I started doing is what God showed me that I started doing is that because I wasn't getting what I want, I started faking the intimacy. Like literally faking these relationships, turning these relationships into fantasies of what I wanted in my head, of the potential that I thought they had, or that I thought that I wanted. And so when somebody wasn't available, then I'd make excuses, and I make excuses to myself, I make excuses for them. I would just pretend like, okay, well, he ain't here for this. Well, I'll just, in my head, like, I'm just being real with y'all. And I know that I'm not the only one, but I would, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just pretend like he's like on a business trip or something. And that way I don't have to deal with the real emotion of why he's not really there. You know what I'm saying? And so I was faking the intimacy, like faking the part of the relationship that I want. And so that God said that's what's happening. That is what's happening, is that you're faking intimacy with me. You're going to church and you're serving in ministries and you're giving to the poor and you're doing all of these things to imitate intimacy with me. But That's not real intimacy. Intimacy is when you can be in my presence and nothing else matters. And you can be, I'm the only thing that you desire, that everything that you want in a person, and I'm enough. Like I'm more than enough. And only when we can get that right will we be able to get intimacy with each other right. And so he's like, I really need y'all to get this. Like, I really need y'all to stop prostituting yourself, first of all. Stop prostituting your energy. Like, you are beautiful, absolutely beautiful, just the way I made you. Okay, you are absolutely beautiful just like that. Now give yourself to me. That means sacrifice. Give yourself trust. Trust that everything that I have for you is good, that it's perfect, that it's going to work in your favor. You know, it may not feel good when he starts peeling back them layers and exposing stuff, because that's what intimacy does. When you get with a husband, I ain't never been married, but these are things that other married friends of mine have said to me, and things that God has shown me himself, is that when you are in an intimate relationship, it exposes everything about you. That person is going to expose some stuff in you that you may not always be ready to deal with, but you love them and you want this to work, so you deal with it. It's the same. God's like, love me like that. Love me like that. Let me peel back them layers. Let me show you this stuff about you that doesn't work, that doesn't fit for our intimate relationship. And, let me help you clean this up. Let me clean this up for you. That's all he's asking. That's all he's like, hey, come in here, enjoy my presence. Let me enjoy you. After all, you were created to glorify me. After all, I created you for me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Everything else is a bonus. And so, yeah, God is just like, let's get this intimacy thing. You'll be able to, you can't stop doing it on your own. Like, you are not going to stop prostituting your energy when that's the way you learned to do it, from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? The only way you're going to be able to do it is if you allow him to come in and to do it and to do the work himself. And it's so important because time is getting short. Time is really getting short. That God is drawing the line. He's drawing the line. Either you're in the kingdom or you're not. Like, there's no two ways about it. He's not playing. He's not going to keep giving us chance after chance after chance. Like, he's given, the decision has to be made. So you're going to be intimate with him. Going to stop prostituting your little energy, honey. Put that up. Save it for your husband, because the Lord has great use for it. He has great use for it. You will be a total blessing to your husband or to your wife. That energy will be an absolute gift to them. But you got to get it right with God first. Like, you got to get that level of intimacy right with him. Spend some time with him. He's like, just talk to me. Like, just talk to me. The way I'm talking to y'all, God's like, just talk to me. Like, just tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind. Let me know how you feel. He knows anyway, but he wants you to tell it. Like, it does no good for you to know how your husband or your wife or anybody else that you're intimate with, it does no good to know how they feel, or for you to think you know how they feel. And they don't speak it. Like, it gets something out of you when you actually get to express what it is. So I'm not gonna stay on here. I think that's pretty much all he's given me for that. I do know that he's given me some more about how the male, how that same concept works with men, and how there's been a hindrance to them being able to be married, and the embodiment of the I think I said in the last video that the woman is the embodiment of her husband's femininity. I think that's what I said. But God is like still giving me more information on that. I would really like to talk to some of my brothers and get their input on it as well. I've talked like I said, I talked to one of my brothers and he gave me some like really good information. So we'll see. We'll see what God says. But you all be blessed. If you have not been out, I've been sitting here and I need to be driving. But if you haven't been out, don't go out and be foolish and reckless, but at least sit out on your patio or something and get some of this sunshine, enjoy some of this weather, this fresh breeze. Love y'all.